Hello, precious people. I'm Jacqueline Parks. Welcome to my studio, Stampin' Turtles. Today we're going to be learning how to paint some easy watercolor trees, and I'm going to see if I'm going live first. Whoa. Hello, precious people. I am, and you can hear me, so that is good, and there's video. I have been trying to do a little better at just verifying that I'm going live and there's sound. So sorry if that's kind of annoying, but it's the only way I can figure this out all by myself. So maybe someday when I'm big and famous, I can hire people to, double check that and be like, no, yes. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a good day. Today is Monday, and as always, I'm here on my YouTube channel at 10 a.m. going live. And I also have a class later today from 12 to 2. So if you are in my area and want to take that class, we're doing a winter landscape with trees and mountains and a beautiful sky. So I do have a few spots available. You'll bring your own supplies to that class, of course, but if you don't have your own supplies, we can give you some and just help you to learn how to paint. And so you're probably here because you want to learn how to paint. And today I'm going to focus on trees because in my last class, a lot of people were having a little bit of trouble painting pine trees. In this one, let me transition over here. I'll show you this. I just did like in 2 minutes. So it's not perfect, of course, but it's the base layer right now, and it's a willow tree. Frankly, you could turn this into any kind of tree at this point. It's not even detailed. Let me get my honey. Ooh. Best honey around is Coastal Comb. If you guys go online, look them up. Coastal Comb honey is thebomb.com. And actually, when I drink this, it really helps with my throat so I don't feel all croaky and nasty, right? Okay, so here's my desk right now. It's kind of a mess. I did get some clean water. I love using this new palette. I think it's going to be great for my videos here. And I think that you guys will enjoy seeing me paint with it. The only problem is it doesn't have a lot of wells over here, but it does have these. So if I want pure water, I just add, or pure paint, like a pure color, I can do that. And when I want to mix them up a little bit, I mix them over here, or I just keep the lid to my other palette. I do like that this is very travel friendly. I can just put the lid on it and go. So I like this. And I like all these colors. I'm used to them. These are a little bit less color variations. Like I have less variety of color, but you can still make everything. And that's how we did this. If you didn't catch that video setting up a new palette, you can go look on my YouTube channel and see that. Anyways, getting a little bit of tea into me. Little tea. All right, always have your paper towel. You gotta have a paper towel in your hand, I think. And if you're gonna be watercoloring. And we're gonna start from scratch on a brand new paper. So this one I'm gonna set aside for a minute because I want you to see the whole process and understand how I make my trees. So we're gonna go a little up close on this one just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm not even gonna do a sketch. We're just gonna try making a shape. I don't even have a reference photo, nothing. We're just going for it, okay? Now this is gonna be great for doing the trunk. So I'm gonna put it down though for now. I'm not doing the trunk right now. We're gonna use a flat brush, okay? Because this is a willow. And it's gonna be really pretty when I make it. So I've already kind of wet my paints, which if your paints are bone dry, put a little drop of water in each well of your paints so that it can hydrate. Just like humans, your paints need to be hydrated. So now we're gonna go and make some of these flat tops and come down. Just like that. You can overlap them. And this is how I do a willow tree, which is really cool. And because all of that is one color, sap green, which is my sap green right here, I want you to see, can you see them both together? Kind of similar, right? But I want you to know that I have to add some darker colors in there. Okay, so I'm going to add with the darker greenish color. You can add a little bit of red to your green, or you can just add a little Payne's gray. And I'm going to turn my brush sideways now and just do a couple little darker areas. And see how that kind of bleeds into the wet? That's okay. We're keeping it towards the bottom. Okay? The bottom of your tree is going to be darker, shadowy. And now I'm rinsing this and drying. See how I rinse and dry? And you want to make sure it's pretty clean when you rinse and dry it, okay? Now you can add just a little bit of yellow. And I think I have some on here already from earlier. You can use some of this kind of yellow, the lighter yellow, whatever yellow you have. And what I'm going to do is just very lightly put some of that yellow color over the top and see how it's blending with that green. But it does like to push away a little bit. And so right now it's still kind of looking like blobby stuff, right? It's not really a shape. It's just the bare bones of it. And now I'm switching brushes. I'm going to get this one. I'm going to do a little bit of, this brown. It could be burnt sienna, burnt umber. You can mix whatever you want to create your trunk, okay? If you like a dark, almost black trunk, you can do that. Put some Payne's gray in there. I'm liking that. That's pretty. All right, now we'll go zoom back in. I'm just gonna very lightly make my trunk go right here. And I could be imagining whatever, a twisty little trunk, if I want a twisty little trunk. I might put some browns in certain places just to get a little bit of that sense of a trunk in there. May want to add a little bit more to the bottom. So now I've got that base. The base is all what it's all about. Now I'm going to clean and dry my brush. Clean and dry. Like, that's why you always have a paper towel. Clean it and dry it. So there's no residue on there. And now I'm just going to very lightly dip it into my Payne's gray that I have over here. Just the tip. Okay? And then after I do that, we're going to go in and just on the shadow side. Your shadow side might be on the right. I like to do shadow on the left. And look at that. We're just adding a little bit of interest to this, okay? Now, this is where the patience comes in. And if you're anything like me, you do not like to be patient. And I do have a heat tool, but I want you to know this one right here has been sitting and waiting for a second layer of some happiness in there. So I'm going to go back in with my Payne's gray and my burnt umber, burnt sienna, and I'm going to go back in and define my trunk a little bit more on that left side. See how that's making it stand out already? Then I'm going to rinse completely. completely and dry it. And now I'm going to get some of that green. Can you see my green right here? And I'm just going to very gently add some vertical swatches. And if you don't have a, it probably would be better to do it with this. This is a script liner. If you don't have one, just use your smallest brush that you have. I'm looking at this and I'm seeing it's kind of streaky. In my mind, it's too streaky. I'm going to dry my brush and I'm going to pick up some of that, that earlier, darker, greenish, Payne's grayish color. I can mix a little bit more green in it, or add a little red. Can add a little bit of red in there. It makes it just kind of a darker green. And that's how you play with your paints. You gotta play. So I'm gonna add them in there. And just add it to the bottom, because it just makes it nice and dark. See how that's looking really pretty so far? Then rinse completely and dry. And you get your yellow, if you have some of that yellow right here. And you can add some little yellow streaks wherever you want them. Yellow kind of repels. And if it mixes a little bit, that's okay. We're not going to be upset about that. But now I'm seeing it's just too uniform in my mind. And I'm just going to rinse my brush completely, dry it, then dip it in the water, get enough water on my brush so that it will help blend. And see how that's blending? See the pretty blends? Just really nice. I like how that looks. That looks really pretty. Pretty. And I can go back in with some of the darker colors. So rinse, dry, dip just the tip, and find that Payne's gray, greenish, reddish color. Oop, can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've kind of polluted that green, but that's okay. I like that darker color, so I'm going to go in and put some really nice dark on the bottom. Because the sunlight's coming, it could even be noon, but the sun is coming from the top down, so everything underneath is going to be a little bit, dark. And the light and the tops of the trees are going to be bright. So I just love the look of that right now. So of course, what do? We got to dry, rinse and dry, and let this rest for a minute. Because it's super wet in there. I could go in with my tree trunk and just add a little bit of brown. Make it more blended. I like that. Super easy. So that's taken me just a couple minutes, y'all. And as you can see, this one is not detailed yet because we're waiting for it to dry. This one, we're going to have to wait for it to dry as well. But these are super fun. These are only 3 inches by 3 inches. You guys don't have to do massive sized paintings. You can start with something small and just practice on that. I did this one as a quick little video and posted it yesterday. And this took me, less than 10 minutes to paint and write out the scripture. And it was very simple, but I think it helps people to see that you can do all of this pretty simply. So we're just waiting. It's always a waiting game. Just waiting for that to kind of dry a little bit. We could do some stuff on this one while we wait. I do want to show you guys. Some really cool pine trees, because I think where we live, pine trees are a good one. Oak trees as well. So let's do some of that. I'm gonna mix up some yellow and just put some yellow up in here like that. And we can add a little more Payne's gray down in there just to add that shadowing to make it look a little darker under there. I just like to wiggle my brush a little bit. Just let it do its thing. So yeah, that one looks different, but it's pretty. I think it looks pretty. Especially when I look at it on a device, because then I can take all the emotions out of it being, my work, and then just say, maybe it's someone else's work, right? And how would you judge someone else's work if it looked like that? You'd be like, that's so cool, that's pretty. We're always so harsh on ourselves when we're trying new things, and I hope that my videos encourage you all to just try doing different things and trying to be just exploring and experimenting instead of trying to be perfect straight from the get-go. I don't think anyone's perfect straight from the get-go. We all have to learn. It's a process. So let's see what else we're going to do. You want to do some pines? Let's do some pines. So we'll mix up I like using this brush for my pines. What I want to kind of do, though, which I think will be really cool, is make a whole sky here. So, I'm just going to wet the paper with some clean water. Okay, just half the paper. Then I'm going to let that kind of soak in for a second. And while it's soaking in, I'm going to mix up my green again. And I do like that Payne's gray mixed in with that green. Can you see what I'm making? It's kind of hard to see. But this is my blob of Payne's gray, and this is sap green. And I'm just mixing the two. And you can add a little bit of red if you want. And that just makes a darker green. Payne's gray is a blackish color, but it's got a blue undertone. So I like that. But see how cool that is? That's really cool right there. Now I'm going to go back to what we're going to do here. So I am just making some blobs. Okay? Some little blobs, some big blobs. Those are going to be our trees in the distance, okay? So they're going to fade out, and we're going to let them fade out, right? We're just going to let them kind of do what they do with the sky. Well, the sky is not even blue, but it's going to be a gray sky, y'all. It's going to be one of those wintry wonderlands where everything is white except for the trees. And the trees are going to be like this green, dark green. So it's going to be really pretty, I think. But again, I want you to notice I'm waiting. And as I'm waiting, I'm just going to sip some more tea. So we can we can sip some tea together. Let's see what happens. So if you guys are joining me today, you can say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're from. You can hit the little hearts and let them kind of pop up, or just kind of like the video and say, hey, want to support my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. I go live every Monday at 10 a.m. and it's just kind of a fun time to just relax and paint and spend time with you all, and just be kind of in the moment of just painting, exploring, experimenting. You can do different things. So, um, the thing about this though is the wait time. We gotta wait. It's always a wait. Let me see. I can go close up on that, and you can already see how pretty that looks, right? But I'm too lazy to wait. Too impatient. So I just hit it with a little bit of a heat tool, y'all. That's all it needed. And this is Arches paper. You know how I talked to y'all about Arches. Arches paper is very absorbent. It stays wet very long and is very high quality. So sometimes when you learn on that other paper that dries quickly, then you switch to Arches and you're like, oh no, it's not drying. But you know what? You'll get used to it and you'll probably love it. Love it more than you already love watercolor. Okay, so here I am. That is staying put. Can you all see that? And so I'm starting with a couple little dots at the top. And then I'm going sideways and a little bit wider, a little bit wider. And towards the bottom you can't even see. See that? That looks kind of good. So now we're going to do another one. We're going to do another one like right here. And that helps me to kind of know where my tree is going to be. Again, just a couple that are poking straight up. And you can learn to control your brush by practicing. But now I'm going to do a couple little ziggy zags. I've never seen a perfect tree in nature. So these guys are not perfect. They just like to be out and about, growing however they grow. Okay, so there's two. And the ones in the background, that's like they're far away. So it's kind of cool how they faded into the background. Now I'm going to mix up a little bit more of this paint. Sometimes you don't mix enough and you got to go back and mix a little bit more. But the variations I think are great. So you can really end up making some really cool looking realistic forests. Look at that. We're just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle. There we go. Look at that. So turning out awesome. And I haven't done anything. This is like the, second layer, basically. And so you guys have to realize that this takes time. And even though I'm a pretty quick painter, I do know that it takes some time for the images to create something pretty. Because there's an ugly stage, y'all. Ugly, ugly stage, right? Well, this might still be the ugly stage. We'll see. We'll see. That tree is going to go off the edge there. That's kind of cool. Maybe we'll make it go down to here. Like it's coming up in front. And look at that. I just added a little bit of that Payne's gray in there. I like how that's looking. Might do that on some of these too. Just to make it a little darker in places, like there's a shadow or something. I like that. That looks good. So just kind of keep playing. Keep playing, y'all. Keep practicing. You don't want to do this once a month or once a week. You want to do this 2 or 3 times a week, at least. You want to keep practicing. So now I've got that little scene. I'm just adding that little bit of the darker stuff that I made. Maybe we'll put the dark on the right side this time. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool. Now this is kind of forward. And when you're making your trees, you should remember that there is definitely a ground. So sometimes when we just have it floating there, no shadow, that makes it look less, realistic. So let's put some shadow. And I'm just very barely putting a shadow. But that's going to be our snowiness right there. Okay. So I just added that quick little shadow. Super easy. Remember, I'm always cleaning and drying that brush with a paper towel. So I probably could wring it out, but I don't want to wring it out right now. So, and if you make a dot somewhere and you don't like that little dot, just use your clean brush, dry it, and then dab it, and you'll get it right up. So a lot of times you think, oh, I've made a mistake. No, you haven't really made a mistake. But there are ways you can fix some of those mistakes. And I'm just going to add some dark in here to add a little bit of interest. And that can be why sometimes your trees aren't looking like you want them to, because you haven't added a shadow side, or you haven't added variation in colors. A lot of times it's because you haven't grounded it. These are all grounded with a shadow, and they're really popping out good. I like them. So that's our little pine trees. What time is it? 10:30. So maybe we can do something. Maybe we can do something like an oak or a palm. I don't know. What do you guys want to see? Oak tree, palm tree? You can tell me in the comments. Me another one of these. So I have a bunch of these little squares just cut and ready to use. That could help you guys a lot if you want to just start practicing on a daily basis. Just have a stack of these guys. I used to just sit on the couch and paint with this in my lap. Like, I didn't even have to leave the living room and be all like sitting at a desk, sitting, in the craft room or whatever, studio. I was just sitting on the couch, enjoying watching TV with my husband and painting on my lap. So you can do that when it's small like this. So let's see, what are we going to do with this piece right here? So oak trees or palm trees? Y'all are not telling me anything. So I'm just going to go for maybe a palm tree. Those are kind of hard. I think maybe an oak tree. Let's do an oak tree, okay? Because I think an oak tree might be easier for me. And we're trying to do easy trees today. We don't want failure. And the first time I ever painted a palm tree with watercolor, it was a failure for me. It was completely, looks like a firecracker. Bye, sweetie! My baby's going. Huh? I love you. All right, so I'm going to go for an oak. So look at that. We're just doing, I'm almost like completely just smashing my brush down. And so that's just getting that color on there, okay? Now we're going to rinse and dry. You might need a new paper towel at this point. I'm getting close to needing a new paper towel. I don't have a green on here that's kind of this bluish green. So, Viridian. I'm just going to pick it up from my other palette. But I like it, and I'm going to add a little bit of this red into it. And it's just making this darker green. Now I'm just going to add it because this is very wet, y'all. This is super wet. We're just going to add some green, dark green to that bottom area. And it's just kind of pretty, like it's looking already. Really good. Now I'm going to rinse and dry, rinse and dry. And let's do a kind of swirly little trunk. So I just picked up some brown. Any browns, mix your browns together, do whatever you want. And it's kind of a wiggly little thing, right? Wiggly little thing, and you can do that. And look at how when it touches that, it kind of goes in there. And that. So sometimes it's good to have a reference photo, y'all, because if you're not careful, you might end up making something that doesn't look quite right. But we're using our imagination right now, right? And now I'm going to make this darker and whiter. Maybe not darker. Maybe not. But we're definitely making the trunk thicker at the bottom. And that's looking pretty good so far. It's not perfect. Nothing's perfect, right? And we're watching this kind of spread out right there, which is kind of pretty. Kind of like how that's happening. You can lift. If you want a lighter side, you can lift that up. And that makes it have a lighter side, if you can see that. And then let's say the grass on the ground is kind of pretty. We bought this grass to go around our oak trees that grows in the shade. I forget what it's called. But it grows in the shade. Look at that. That's so good. So good. Now I'm going to add a little shadow with this blue that I already had made from before. That's my shadow. And you might be like, oh, it's a lot of blue. It's okay. It's going to look so pretty. Gonna look so pretty. Now I'm going to have to go back up here. Now, one of the funnest things I think is splattering. So if you mix up your green that you have here, and you can even add a little bit of that red, and then just kind of do a little splattering. Look at that. Can you see that? It's really pretty. And what I might end up doing is splattering a little bit of this yellow. Yellow is very fun to splatter as well. Yellowish green. See? So now I'm not painting every leaf, but I am splattering, which makes it look like, maybe there's some leaves there. Now I don't like them all the way up here in the sky, so I'm going to erase some of those because I just thought maybe that's too much up there. So I just use a clean brush and just kind of lift all that up. And if your spots aren't coming up too good, just make them into birds. That's always fun to do. Now I notice this trunk is just a little bit too light on that side. So I'm just going to take my Payne's Gray, very tip of it, and add some of that Payne's Gray where there would be shadows. And you can get it as detailed with this part as you want. But I'm a less is more kind of gal. So I'm just doing very simple. And this is watercolor. We want it to be kind of loose and free and fun. Now I may end up adding some more of this green. It's kind of still really wet in there, so I may have to wait. But basically that's how you make an oak tree. An oak tree. And I like that one of the trunks is kind of wonky over there. So it's almost like maybe it's been through a hurricane. Maybe it's been through something. Like we all have been through something, right? So now we've got 2 willows that we did. Got the oak, got the pines. I think that's pretty good. I'm trying to think what other kind of trees we want to paint. I don't know, there's spruce. There's all kinds of trees. I didn't really look up too much. Let me get another paper towel just because this one is saturated. I might want to add, I'm trying to look at this a little bit. Let's see. Kind of want to add more to this just because that's when you kind of start to figure out. You're like, do I need to add anything in there? And sometimes you add that shadow of Payne's Gray in there and it just, little dots in there, see? Because that's still wet, it's just kind of bleeding out. But like if you ever look at a tree, you'll see there's a lot of shadow in there. So just, if you're good at making up stuff from your imagination, that's great. If you're not, use a reference photo. It's very important. I use reference photos most of the time because I'm just not that good at all this, making it up. But I'm always in awe. My daughter can make up characters and draw them and color them and all that, and they just look fantastic. And it came from her brain, not a reference photo. Although sometimes she'll have someone like hold their hand in a certain way so she can like see the anatomy and like how it looks. That's what we should do. We should do some still life painting. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know if I'll do that next month maybe, or yeah, maybe like for March. Maybe in March we'll do some still lifes, which might be fun. I kind of want to start an open studio time that everybody can just show up, pay $5, and we all just can paint our own thing. I'll have like a setup for still life. Everybody can kind of go around and like circle it and just paint what they see. That might be fun. I think that would be a really fun time of just being together with other artists and enjoying seeing what everyone else kind of paints, because we all have our own style. Like, you don't have to have the same style as me. Like, I look at this and I'm like, it's very loose, it's very free, it's very like everything just kind of looks put on there and spread out, and like it's not fine detail or anything, but it's really pretty in my mind. I love how this looks. This is my style. I like this. So maybe your style is more detail oriented, and that would be so cool to watch y'all do that. I think that would be fun. So I'm trying to think, what else can we paint today? It is 10:30, so it's kind of 10:39. And so, normally I do a little bit more of a full painting for you. But I think this is good to like learn how to paint some of these trees and just kind of the background on them and making sure they have a shadow side. That's what really brings a painting to life, is having that shadow and being grounded. So even if it's kind of this loose, like this loose blue underneath the tree, that just grounds it. That makes it so it's not floating. It's not like disconnected from the ground. You gotta have it where it's connected to the ground. And so I don't know what my dog is barking at. I don't see nobody out there. She likes to bark at the wind, I think. I'm pretty sure it's just the wind. I can try and do one more for y'all if you want. The palm tree, not that great. I'd probably need to see we'll try it. You know what? We'll try it. Now I'm almost out of this green, right? So I'm not using the flat brush, but I am using this brush, and I'm just going to lay it kind of on its side. and go down. And I don't know if this is going to work. I need more paint, thicker paint. Sometimes I don't have enough paint in here. I gotta make more paint. I don't know. We'll see. You guys don't judge because I'm not even looking at a reference photo. This is not going to probably be good. But we'll see. You know, I don't mind going live with y'all. I actually like it. I don't have to do anything to make my video. I just do the video, and then it is what it is. It may look good, it may look bad. Now, I'm trying to make those little things. And I'm thinking that everything's going to this center right here. So, you may want to add a darker side, some of your Payne's gray. We'll see what happens. I don't know if it's going to work. We'll see. We'll see. That's looking pretty. Maybe. So rinse, dry. Totally dry it. Because we're going to switch to brown. Now I'm dipping it in the water just to get it wet, and using these two. I think these two are good. So we're going to make the trunk kind of go, I don't know which way. Straight down, curve to the side, maybe this way. I don't know if that's a good one or not. We'll see. And they seem to have like these little kind of coconut thingies. But I also like that there's these like bands on the tree usually. So now I'm just going to dry that and let that dry. Might add some of my yellow into there, like at the tops in some of the places. I like having that kind of highlight areas. It may or may not work out, but you never know if something's going to work out unless you try it. If you don't try it, if you're too afraid to try it, you're not going to know it didn't work or that it did work. So it's always important to try it. And don't let yourself be too afraid, because these are little 3" by 3" squares, and it's not a big deal if you mess up. It's not going to ruin anything. You didn't use a massive amount of paint. You didn't use a massive amount of paper. Your brushes you can keep using over and over, so they're not something to be wasting. You know, a lot of people think you're wasting your paint or you're wasting your paper when you screw up. I don't think of it that way. I think it's kind of a good thing. Let's see what happens. Is that dry enough? Not really, but it's okay. And I might end up doing some dark on that side. And this Payne's gray might be kind of fun to add just here and there, because it makes it look kind of pretty. That contrast makes things look really nice. So if you're afraid to put that shadow in there, don't be afraid. It's kind of cool how it looks. And that's starting to look kind of like a palm tree, maybe. maybe, I don't know, I may need to lift up and bring it back a little bit to that white. Because I may be trying to make it look like the finished thing when it's got a couple layers that it needs, right? So we'll just leave it like that, I guess. You can add a blue sky if you want. Just add some water. And see, for me, I really like how it blends with that background a little bit, or with the tree. I kind of like that. Just kind of looks pretty, I think. I have blue skies, right? For your palm tree. For your palm tree. Might need to add a little bit more blue down in here. And you were like, well, what if I go too far? Yep. It can happen, y'all. It can happen. But it's also fixable a lot of the times. But I think that looks pretty. I'll probably come in and do some more detail for the leaves when that's dry, because it's not dry right now. One thing I do want to show you, let me wipe that off, is this was one of the first willows, and I wanted you to see how cool this script liner is. So what I'm going to do is mix a little bit of that greenish blue, and I'm just going to show you. I need a little more water on there. But look at how it's so wispy, and that's what I think is kind of cool when you do willows, is having that wispiness. Very pretty. And that just makes it look kind of fun. I like how that looks. And you can do some darker ones in there, in the underneath part. That just looks kind of cool. Oops, I think I got some on some of these other paintings over here. That's all right. So that's like my fancy willow. Might add some yellow. Let's add some of these wispy yellow thingies. And that's just kind of cool too. Adding a little bit of interest, some color in there. Definitely is expressive. And I've always really liked expressive painting. I think that's kind of fun to do. But I think I'll cut off a little early today. I do have my class later, and I need to, well, I'm pretty ready, but I just need to make sure that, let's see. I don't know if we can make that look a little bit better. Let's see. Not so zoomed in, but enough so you can see them all. There you go. So yeah, those are my quick little trees. That palm tree needs a little help, but it's gonna be okay. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching me. The scripture that I'd love to share with you. I have been thinking about how Ecclesiastes talks about there's a time for war, time for peace, a time for silence, a time to speak. And our church has been talking about it a lot, and I really feel like we should be very attuned to what the Lord is putting on our hearts. We need to be very attuned to how He is speaking to us. And a lot of times we are going about our day. We have to be at this place We have to be at that place. Here, I'll zoom in so you can see me. So we have to be, you know, busy lives. Like my Mondays are super busy, and so I know I have a lot to do. And I've already been to Hobby Lobby. I had to pick up a watercolor kit for one of the students today in my class. I do my YouTube video, and then I'm going to go teach my class. And then tonight I'm starting a Bible study, and just so much going on, right? And there's a tendency to be focused on what you need to accomplish throughout your day and not worry about anybody else because you're so busy and you're just focused. I got to get through the next hour, the next couple minutes, whatever it is that you're going through. And you may not see other people. You may not even, you see them as a barrier to getting things accomplished. So for me, when I find myself in that busyness, I want to take a step back and say, Lord, help me to see what you want me to see. Say things to people that may need a word of encouragement. See what other people are going through, maybe. We never know what someone's struggling with. And personally, I've been through some hardships that have made me a grumpy person and not a nice person. So if someone is biting your head off that you don't even know, just think about maybe they're going through something. Maybe they've just lost their mom. Maybe they have found out some really bad news health-wise. Maybe they are struggling with pain. I used to think there is no big deal. Like, why are people so grumpy? But you know what? Chronic pain can make you grumpy. So just think about when you're dealing with a difficult person, maybe, who you feel is a hindrance to getting things accomplished in your day. Just think about maybe they just need a word of kindness, a word of encouragement, a word of hope for good to happen. Maybe they just need that. And you're the only one who's doing that. You're the only one who can offer them, oh, hey, go ahead and go in front of me. Or, in line at a store. Or, hey, maybe I could help you carry your groceries. Or I can help you do something that would make your life easier. So, it's always hardest to be nice to people we know. I think it's easier sometimes to be nice to people that we don't know and have a little more grace for them because we have such a history sometimes with our own family and friends that we think, oh, they should be better. And really, they're just like everyone else. They need kindness, they need grace, they need mercy. So the Lord is always with us. And He is always prompting our hearts to reach out to others and to be kind to one another. So for me, Ecclesiastes 3. Just read the whole thing if you have time today. Let me see if I have it on my phone. I'll look it up on my phone and read you a little bit. It's kind of isn't there a song? I think there's a song all about it. But I think it's just really important because we're in a time where it's just very uncertain. There's a lot of natural or maybe they're unnatural disasters happening. People have lost homes. Lots of people have lost homes recently, and it's just devastating to see that, and it can overwhelm you. Like, even if you're not one of the ones in those areas and you're just watching it, it can overwhelm you. It can make you feel like there's a sense of doom. But the Lord wants us to remember in Ecclesiastes 3, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And here's the thing. None of that says there's a time to sin. So remember that. It's not calling you to sin. And if you want to know when you're supposed to be silent, it's best to really be in the Word and close to the Lord. He will help you to know when to be silent. I have a hard time being silent. I like to talk. La, 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 la. So I need to remember sometimes I should listen. Just listen. You know, a lot of people just want to tell you what's going on in their life. They want to vent. They may not want you to solve it. You may have the perfect solution for their problem, but they're not ready for that. They just want to vent. And so God will put it on your heart when to just listen. I was reading Job today, and his friends, when he just lost all of his children, lost his property, and then he had sores all over him. He was in pain. His friends came and sat with him for 7 days and didn't say anything. They just sat with him. How can we do that? Like, we always want to speak. We always want to say, oh, you should do X, Y, Z. You should do this. I'm very guilty for being the kind of person who just yap, yap, yap. So I think it's very important to read your Bible every day. Pray. Listen for the Lord. Try and tune out dogs barking. That's why I love my studio. I go over there and there's no dogs barking. Well, actually the neighbor's dog, but not so loud. Not in the house. Like these guys. These are barky dogs. But I do think that God will give you guidance on how to be. And it's kind of good to be intentional throughout your day, looking for opportunities to be kind to one another, to encourage one another, and to love one another. So I hope that this has been an encouragement to you. I hope you go and try and paint some trees today. I'm going to go get ready for my class and take off for that. And hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Love y'all and have a blessed one. Mwah.